listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson. Oh, we gotta fix this chair a little bit. Our normal new host, he's away this evening. Oh, he's moving. He's moving and is shaking. Our normal new host is celebrating his wife, Amelia Singleton Sebastian. They don't have hyphenated names. Amelia Sebastian. She's living it up tonight for her birthday. Happy birthday, Amelia. We also want to introduce our other co-host. He's always here.
Sean Sebastian.
Here he is. He's changed his form because that's in these days.
I have changed my form.
Who are you now other than Sean?
Sean.
Okay, that's it. I didn't know Brian was going to make a return.
Brian's been in hiding ever since
Why?
he tried to rob a bank, and
Wow.
he did get away, but they got him on camera, and now he's hiding.
Oh.
They know what he looks like.
He didn't resort to his violent ways on camera, did he?
Well, he punched the bank teller, because that's what Brian does. So
Brian, you can't do that. Gosh.
Yeah.
Not my neighbor Brian. I don't want them to
not
get confused.
that Brian.
Brian Guerin he's not.
He's a
not,
great guy.
Yeah, he wouldn't ever rob a bank.
This is Brian from he hasn't appeared on the show in quite some time.
He hasn't. A lot of your personalities have subsided. I think it's due to that therapy and that shock. Yeah, the shock therapy.
Yeah,
that's helped a lot.
They stick a probe up my nose and like zap my brain directly, man. It's amazing.
Sometimes that's the only way to get rid of
feels
them.
good.
It's the only way to dampen the voices.
Yeah, you gotta make them shut up. And that's how you do it.
It happens sometimes. We got a great show. Lots to talk about. Tons of news. Something that kind of broke in the not Elon buying Twitter.
I broke.
Okay. Elon buying Twitter is not on our docket tonight. That's multimedia segment. That's like 2 weeks away. Maybe we'll talk about it because maybe more news will break by then.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can get on any kind of website and see everybody ramble. I mean, just get on Twitter. Yeah, everybody's going nuts over it.
It's been on all. You don't even get on Twitter because it's all over Facebook. I mean,
True.
It's on all social media platforms at this point. So we're well aware of Elon Musk and Twitter, but that has nothing to do with the movie industry.
No, it doesn't. So we can't really disrupt the show as much as we'd like.
There's been cries, people wanting him to buy Netflix. So maybe if he does that, we can talk about it. But,
and we are talking about Netflix.
We are. Not Elon buying it. That's a complete rumor. I'm not spreading that as any type of.
No, we wouldn't spread rumors. Do it. But we
can do that now because Elon he owns Twitter, and that's what they fear that's going to happen. So we can just get on there and
he's
tell
just going to
lies,
own all the things.
He's going to own all the things, so that people are allowed to lie now.
Yeah. I mean, he's just going to spread bigotry and misogyny and hatred. Oh gosh, it's so terrible. But again, we're not talking about that. We're going to talk about Netflix losing subscribers. It's so terrible, losing subscribers. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
A little bit later.
Netflix.
We also got to talk about dirty old white men. No, not Walter Matthau. Walter Matthau.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're checking in on him, right? Or Alec Baldwin.
Is he a dirty old man or just a murderous old man?
Fair point. I will say
it's not murder. There was not intent.
New body cam footage that released.
Yeah, I did see some of it.
I saw bits and pieces. I want to actually put it together, all the different angles that I've seen, or even just because so many of them have like text or something. We're going to edit it down, condense it, and actually get it ready. We're probably going to talk about that a little bit on next week's show because I kind of want to go through the timeline of events.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we'll
It has
talk
been
about.
interesting. I have seen some of the footage you're talking about today.
Well, we told people back when the story broke that we were going to continue to cover it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not that we've ignored it or not talked
well,
about it.
there hasn't really been any major news yet, just little details here and there. And I think there has been enough small details now that we can kind of compile a lot of things together
Absolutely.
and discuss it. So,
But yeah, we're talking about, obviously, when I said dirty old white men, we're talking about some allegations against Frank Langella and Bill Murray.
William Murray.
And of course, censorship is on the rise.
I have thoughts.
And it's going all the way back to 2002
Yeah.
with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That
I have-
terribly homophobic movie.
Well, Toby. Well, he didn't write the line. So
Homo
I guess you can't
Toby.
call it- Well, they all.
Homo-toby.
Tobo.
Tomophobia.
Yeah. I don't. What you
I don't know what
just
you
said
call
was not. Yeah. Gibberish.
Isn't that what they all speak these days?
Gibberish.
It's just left-wing woke gibberish. That's what it is. But we'll be talking about that in our headlines section. And, of course, we got a great relationships topic. It kind of correlates to me and to Sean missing tonight for his wife's birthday.
Yeah, see, Sean, what happens when you leave? We write segments about you. That's what Brandon does.
No. It inspired me because of also something I did.
Yeah,
Which is...
Yeah, Brandon, what he did was worse.
It is worse. And Sean's not going to be here to rib me about it. He will next week. I did not go see the movie that we're about to show you that we're reviewing.
He didn't see it. Why didn't he see it? Because he's a dummy.
Okay. That's one excuse. And that is very valid. I'll give you that. However,
you had other excuses.
I had other things.
You worked literally all weekend. And I'm not just saying.
Our local station did coverage for Thunder Over Louisville, which is a huge fireworks show kicking off Derby season here in the great state of Kentucky.
Yep.
2 weeks of fun extravaganza. Another event I'm partaking in this week is a mini marathon, which looks to be raining and it's going to be miserable.
As an excuse for not seeing the movie.
No, but after working like a 60-hour work week towards the fireworks show, then I had to go to a visitation for a family member, Carol Laird, rest in peace. And afterward, my family and I left, and my brother and sister-in-law had come up for the visitation as well from Bullitt County. And they also were like, hey, why don't we go out and grab some dinner and have some family time? And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to skip out on family time. So our relationships topic is actually about having priorities and prioritizing family time.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into that tonight.
Yeah.
On relationships.
He wants
segment.
to justify his poor decisions.
Absolutely.
No.
So the greatest thing about being the owner of a show and producing it is you get to come up with the topics that justify your actions.
Hey.
I mean, what better way?
You bailed on the movie. I did bail on Sean the first night we were supposed to see the movie. He's probably disappointed in both of us.
You went to Thunder.
I did.
You bailed on him to go down there.
To go down there, I did. Because it was a last-minute, spur-of-the-moment family thing again. It happened to be so dang gorgeous outside.
It
that
was
it was
beautiful.
It was
It was a
hard to
beautiful
resist.
day.
It's like it is. It was hottest Thunder in record. So we ended up going the next night, though. So I made it up to Sean. I still made it. I saw the movie. So you still get to find out about it. And we can go ahead and, I believe, roll the review.
I was going to say, your review and also hearing from Sean about what
his
he gave
score,
the film score-wise, I am definitely going to be checking this movie out.
And I would love to share thoughts on it and its director. So we'll get into my review of The Northman. From director Robert Eggers, the mind that brought us both The Witch and The Lighthouse, comes The Northman. Based on the Scandinavian legend of Viking Prince Amleth, portrayed in the film by Alexander Skarsgård. While historians believe Amleth probably never existed, his story was well known amongst Vikings and Anglo-Saxon legend, a legend that was very real to the Vikings. A simple revenge plot, Amleth's story begins with the murder of his father by his uncle Fjolnir, played by Claes Bang. After murdering his brother, Fjolnir takes the throne, takes Amleth's mother, Queen Gudrun, portrayed by Nicole Kidman, as his own queen, and orders Amleth killed, which he believes to be carried out. Years later, fully grown, through madness and rage, Amleth sets his sight on revenge. believing it's his fate to kill his uncle Fjolnir, avenge his father, and take back his kingdom and mother, or else die in battle trying, in which he shall be rewarded by entering the gates of Valhalla. For those who feel the simple plot surrounding a prince seeking revenge on his uncle for his father's murder sounds familiar, this makes sense, as Amleth's story is the inspiration for William Shakespeare's Hamlet. Many story tropes originated with Shakespeare, and many tropes found within Hamlet began as the Viking legend of Amleth. Whether the story is fact or fiction, Eggers' film plays as a historical drama with supernatural elements thrown in, aided by his attention to detail, character-driven storytelling, and Eggers' talent for unsettling his viewers. The Northman isn't a horror film in the vein of The Witch or The Lighthouse, but Eggers makes use of his skills shown in both those films to create suspense and unease as Amleth ventures down his path of madness and revenge, while holding true to his convictions and beliefs as a Viking. Cinematography and use of negative lighting with otherworldly visuals of Viking faith creates a stunning and engaging film to watch. By blending what could have historically happened with the supernatural, the film not only shows events as they could have happened in real life, even referencing events that did historically happen during this period, but the film gets to show an authentic visualization of what the Vikings of the period believed to be real. The supernatural elements, while sometimes bizarre as any Eggers film visuals have proven to be, never feel out of place, and often come in moments where it is very believable a Viking warrior would have, whether in intoxicated stupor or on death's door, believed to have experienced such phenomena. Outside of its historical accuracy and authentic display of the lifestyle and beliefs of Amleth and the people of this period, the film offers a lot of character depth to sink your teeth into. So far, all of Eggers' films have been character-driven stories, and The Northman is no different. Skarsgård as Amleth is raw and determined. Through the story, he meets a slave, Olga, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and slowly and naturally, the two develop a connection with great chemistry. Skarsgård's interaction as Amleth with his mother, Queen Gudrun, and his uncle Fjolnir are all well done and emotionally satisfying scenes, lending even more authenticity to the film. What was a simple revenge story is brought brilliantly to life through rich characters, attentive writing, and attention to detail, with ethereal visuals. The movie toes the line between knowing when to go for a more artistic feel and when to tighten the reins and focus on the visceral reality of the horror of the age. Feeling very much like what David Lowery's The Green Knight wanted to be last fall, Eggers' The Northman shows that Eggers can pull off more than one kind of film, while still offering a lot of what drew people to both The Witch and The Lighthouse. I give The Northman 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Whoa! 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Yeah, that's 3 and then half of another one.
I'm not gonna lie.
That's
I was very disappointed after I heard your review, and also just even editing the review. I really was like, man, I should have went. I was this close. I'll be honest. I edited the review and I got it done about 9:50. I looked at my phone and it wasn't at AMC, but at Cinemark.
Yeah.
There was a 10:15 showing.
Oh man.
And I was this close to leaving to go see it. And I
could have made it, but you would have been up late.
Well, I was gonna say,
it is over a 2-hour movie.
And that was the only thing. I probably would have done it on any other week.
Yeah.
But knowing I got the mini coming up, I was like, I'm not gonna wear myself out this week. So I was like, I was close to going to see it. I'm really disappointed that I didn't
I'd go see
have
it
the
again.
time to see it. Well, hey.
Yeah, if you find time, I know we have another movie to review next week, so we do definitely have to see.
I cut to Sean's. I'm used to just cutting
I
to
know
Sean's
it.
share. Well,
Don't cut to Sean.
he's
Cut to
not
me.
with us. You're talking.
Yeah, we do have to review. And I done forgot the name of it, even though I was the one that
The Unbearable Weight.
That's
of
it.
Massive
Talent.
Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. We're going to review that next week. We're going to see that this weekend. But yeah, if you're free anytime and have a chance to see it and I'm available, I would definitely see it again.
I'll find out. Hopefully, there's maybe some.
It is definitely worth seeing it in theaters, I think, for the visuals alone. Eggers, I think, is very unique in his films in how, like, the cinematography and some of the visuals. I mean, I know you mentioned you've only seen The Witch so far, but you talked about that some, and he definitely has his own flair, I think. I mentioned to you when I came over to record Sunday how, you think of people like Wes Anderson, Quentin Tarantino, even Christopher Nolan. All of their movies are different, but they all feel uniquely like them. Like they have their own style. And I'm not putting Eggers up on the pedestal of any of them just yet. He's only 3 movies in, but I am confident in saying that he has, I think, established his own style, because all three of these movies very much feel similar and feel like Eggers made them, but they are different. The Witch, The Lighthouse, and now The Northman, all three definitely have his traits, but are very different stories. The Witch is so unsettling and is a very
good movie.
Yes, it is. And as far as horror, whereas The Lighthouse still is a horror, but it's kind of a different type. It's more Lovecraftian in the fact that you're kind of falling down into the madness with these characters, and I appreciate that. And then The Northman really, it's not horror at all, but it does still have some of those elements in that he can, the way just with sound and cinematography, and then, like I said, negative lighting in the review, and just the shadows on people's faces, he can create that unsettling nature when you're watching it, and the suspense is building because something's about to happen, whether it be an action scene or a more supernatural scene where something's about to happen. So I thought it was unique that Eggers took some of the horror elements he had with these first two films and blended them into making this Viking folklore, which I mentioned in the review was the inspiration for Hamlet, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. No. I thought that was cool, too. even down to the name.
Yeah, Amleth.
I'm like, wow, all right. He pretty much, pegged that one right in the nose, which I guess, in the days where there wasn't too much rehashing of stories you already knew, I think that was fair to say that Shakespeare's still an original.
Oh, yeah. He made up a lot of his own stories, and not a lot of people, I think, in Shakespeare's world, as far as England and stuff goes, would have, I think, really known the story of Amleth. So I think in that way, he took something he had learned.
I think it's funny to mention something like that in a day of, constant remakes and revisits.
Oh, when you look at
rehashes,
Shakespeare, yeah. You have West Side Story, which is Romeo and Juliet. Baz Luhrmann's modern adaptation. Shakespeare gets remade all the time.
Well, and again, and it's a testament to, the stories he created. I don't want to get off on a Shakespeare.
Yeah.
But it's a testament to the stories he created that, still, stand the test of time in terms of human nature experiences.
And the bare bones of the story of Hamlet is definitely in, obviously since it inspired it, is in the story, the Northman Amleth story. As far as, the uncle, the murdering his father and believing the son to be dead, and he comes back for revenge. If you're not familiar with Hamlet, then Lion King, it's the same story as Lion King because it's also based off Hamlet. So it is funny watching this movie play out, and I'm like, definitely the story beats I'm kind of familiar with in the bare bones aspect, because I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely see how Hamlet came from this. But then what makes it so unique and interesting isn't so much the simplistic story as the fact that it is based on Viking folklore, and Eggers has definitely done his research because he does put it in a real-world setting. They mentioned actual historic events that happened around the time, such as King Harold taking over certain Viking kingdoms. So it's interesting because there is this attention to detail. He does have where everything feels like it actually happened in the real world, but then he blends some of the supernatural elements in a way that it's almost like at first with The Witch, where you're not sure if is this real or is this just in their heads, and same thing with kind of The Lighthouse. You get a similar thing with this, where it's are these supernatural elements real, or is this just what he's kind of seeing because it's real to him, because that is his belief? And I really liked that too, because it was a beautiful way of showing the beliefs of the Vikings and that visuals in an interesting way. So I do think Eggers is someone I'm looking forward to seeing what else he produces.
Well, it's nice to know too that a director, especially under these circumstances of having, we don't know if it's going to be a hit at the box office. It doesn't seem like it's winning any major contests in that regard.
No, and it probably won't. All his films have kind of released as independent movies.
But it's interesting to see the scale has gotten bigger each time, I feel like. Well, I don't know. I guess you could compare maybe The Witch and The Lighthouse to being similar in scope and grandeur. But with regard to this one, no doubt, the scale is much bigger than those other two. And it's good that they've given him more room to kind of experiment with the stories he wants to tell based off the success of those other two. But it also is nice to see that he is coming into his own and kind of creating his own craft or his own storytelling, prowess that I think, again, like a Wes Anderson, apart from some of his that are quirky and very big hits, sometimes I don't want to say it's a miss critically, or even that I've seen a bad movie of his. I rank some of his higher than others. But ultimately, I would say that, no doubt, Wes Anderson still continues to do his thing with each iteration of film he makes. And you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
He has a style and he sticks to it. And so it's cool to see a younger director who has just gotten to start kind of, I think, work
Building
his way
into that,
and actually, building a portfolio that accents it and continues to build on top of.
And I mean, it focuses on the characters and the story, and it's just entertaining, which is like we've talked so much about with some of the movies reviewed. Hollywood is so consumed now by spreading certain agendas that
Yes.
everything is. There's nothing like that in this movie. Like if anything is in this movie, it's all based on Viking belief. So it's like there's nothing in it that feels shoehorned or feels it goes along with the lore.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could tell he did his homework because the first two movies he made, Eggers has said in the past, like he does have a fascination with kind of like New England folklore and stuff like that. And you can see that with his first two movies. His wife, and I don't remember what country she's from, but I know it's one of the Scandinavian countries, and they went there to visit, and he learned a little bit of history there, and that fascinated him, like the Vikings, and that's what the writer, and I'm going to butcher his name, I think it's Sjorn or something, I can't pronounce it, it's Sjorn. But that's where he met up with him because he became fascinated with the lore, and he wanted to make a movie about that his wife's like history and that lore. And I was like, oh, that's really cool because you could see that he didn't just like do something half baked. He really did do the research to make the movie, and I think it shows the authenticity in it. And like you were saying, the production value is higher. You could see it in the cinematography and the visuals. That there's definitely more money that's gone into some of that, but at the same time, it's also, I think, a little homed back compared to his last movie, The Lighthouse, which has a lot of visuals, though you could tell they're at much lower budget because of the style of movie it is. And that's something I also have appreciated, is that you have kind of a minimal amount in The Witch, and then he kind of goes more overboard in The Lighthouse, but it fits that movie. So it's like, okay, is that him just going overboard because he had more success or because it fit that movie? And seeing this one, it's like, okay, no, like that was just for that movie because he doesn't go crazy with this one, and I appreciate that. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a movie worth seeing.
I mean, would you say, I guess so far this year, this is the best one you've seen? Out of all the ones we reviewed, I mean, statistically, it is, I think,
probably
the highest rated.
I'm trying to remember what else we've watched, but I mean, it's definitely the movie I was most entertained by. This, like, I definitely want to see this again. I think it is his most rewatchable one, mainly because I'm just kind of too scared to watch The Witch by myself.
Touche. I wanted to watch that so badly during Halloween.
Yes.
Every year, and it pops up, and I'm like,
it's not even that scary. It's just that it's that unnerving.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I just don't want to.
Same reason I get, and I do get more scared by Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, no, I would say.
But which he called me a light. I don't care. If I'm a lightweight or not.
Oh, it's funny though, because people will make fun of that, but then I'll be like, "What scares you?" And they'll mention something dumb like Nightmare on Elm Street, and I'm like, "See, that's not scary."
Yeah, exactly. That's just literally. I mean, come on, serial killers we've seen tons.
Yeah,
of
so I think
the
it's
demonic and the occult. No,
I think it's just a difference of what you're afraid of. But I'm just like, yeah, I'm not afraid of like
true.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's trying to murder me, I'd be afraid, but I'm not
here's the
typically
thing.
just,
I would say there's something to be said about slasher flicks, but when you get into the nature of, like, stories that can be done in the same vein, but with a more natural or realistic twist, or more rooted in reality, then yes, it becomes more scary. I mean, something as simple as like Gerald's Game, I thought, it wasn't necessarily all full on horror.
No,
but it was suspenseful.
It's just,
and it was definitely unsettling in the sense that when you come to find out that, the person watching her in this bedroom while she's chained to a bed was real.
Yeah.
Even though she's losing it and thinking that she's making
maybe it's
this
not.
up.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very scary.
That was a good movie. I mean, the book was really good. I loved the book, but
it was a short story.
Stephen King. No, it was a full novel.
Oh, it was a full novel.
Yeah, by Stephen King.
All right.
So, and that's crazy too. I mean, it wasn't a long one. I think it's like 200 or 300 pages, but still, like a full novel of her chained to a bed is. But I mean, you get the whole because of the flashbacks of her past and stuff. So you have some of that breaks it up.
Yep.
But still, anyways, we're not reviewing that one.
We're not. I think we did.
We did
We did review that one. That's up on our
right
website.
Now. Yeah, go check
out redmoonproductions.com. That's right, damn it.
Yeah.
But no, we've got tons of headlines as we teased getting into it. So I guess we should go ahead and roll that headline.
Do
open. Oh, not the relationships open.
Brandon's drunk.
I must continue to just rail on Apple. They suck.
Oh, it's Apple's fault.
I am. I'm
Okay.
blaming Apple. They did another MacBook update, and of course it breaks everything. Because their updates are crap now. All right.
Well, yeah.
I did my rant.
Maybe
There it
their
is.
stock should drop like Netflix's did.
Maybe Elon
Yeah.
should buy Apple.
Maybe he should.
When he hits the $1 trillion mark and becomes
We're just
the
gonna
first
give
$1 trillion
Elon
man.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just take it all.
Just take it all, Elon.
You know,
But no, we got tons of news to talk about. Let's talk about the big one on the block. Netflix losing
What they
200,000
What they
subscribers.
do.
And they're predicting that they're going to lose 2 million
Yeah.
by, I think it was year's end, or is it
Yeah.
by the end of the next
Well,
quarter?
I think into the next quarter, because the second half of the year they're predicting that they'll go back up. So it's like, okay.
Well, they got that Stranger Things.
Well, because
coming.
Stranger Things
Yeah.
is coming, and then I think
Forrest
they mentioned
Gump.
like The Witcher season 3, which I don't think that comes out this year. So
It
maybe
can't.
not.
So
Yeah,
2 just came out last December.
Yeah,
There's
so
no way.
but he mentioned a couple shows, and obviously none of them must have been that thrilling because the only one I remember is Stranger Things. So, but what I found hilarious about all of this, and I mean, I know the co-CEO blamed part of it on the suspension of accounts in Russia, which that does make sense. But then they're talking about now cracking down even harder on password sharing because they've lost 200,000 subscribers. I think at over like 50 million in stock or something like that.
It was around that amount. Yeah.
It was a little higher.
Huge amount.
And now they're talking about, well, he literally stated, the co-CEO, I'm paraphrasing, but he did say that in the past, password sharing wasn't a problem on their subscription. So they weren't concerned with it. But now that they're losing subscribers, they're ready to start tackling that problem. And I'm like, so what you're saying is you've lost subscribers and you're going to now try to crack down on the only people who are still paying for your service.
Pretty much. Yeah.
And granted, I know the terms of service do state you're not supposed to share it with people outside of your household, so they have the right to do so. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, is it wise to crack down on the only people still willing to pay for your service?
Well, look, they said basically that they did also blame it on ending service in Russia because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and then increasing competition, inflation, and easing of the pandemic restrictions are partly to blame.
I thought the price hike was because of inflation. Like,
no, not
I mean,
because
they
it's
are
all that,
the most expensive streaming service. That's $20 a month.
yeah.
No
And the
other
funny
streaming
thing is-
service is that much.
But here's the thing, and I do believe this in the sense of, look, they rode the wave in the pre-pandemic and and during the pandemic of people subscribing.
Yeah,
But the thing is like, come on, if you're gonna blame things on common sense free market ideas, which is, oh, we got to worry about competition.
yeah.
Oh, we got to worry about where we ended service on our own behalf. We chose to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to worry about inflation that we've known about for a
Yeah.
year, and we've seen prices increasing. All of these
They're
are
literally
not
things that every other company that they're competing against are also dealing with.
exactly, and all the other streaming services that are available: Disney Plus, Hulu,
HBO Max.
HBO Max,
Yeah.
all of them. Which we're going to talk about HBO Max here in just a sec, because they gained 3 million
Yeah.
subscribers
Yeah.
in Q1. But all of these streaming services, their stock price went down in the same time span that Netflix lost as much as it did. Now, they didn't go down as much, but I think Netflix being the giant among them, it signals, I think, this worrying trend of how successful can these streaming services be when the market is so fractured amongst all of these different distribution
Yeah.
cycles or angles. And so I think you have to kind of put into question, if you're, Netflix, it's like, what do we have to really aim our priorities at? And I think they're missing the mark. I think going after, like you said, a customer base that is dedicated enough to say, no, take my password, this is worth watching and sharing.
Yeah.
But the way I think the video that we linked to in our description talked about how they claim they have 300 million subscribers, but that there's an additional 100 million that are not paying because of password sharing. And I think that's a pretty tall order to
Yeah.
say that you're missing out on 100 million subscribers because of password sharing. I think that's a little too, and we know how Netflix is with data.
Yeah.
We know they're not too friendly about sharing data when it matters most. But sadly, we've already seen some of the effects of this. They're gutting their animation department.
Yeah, they've cut that. And granted, I mean, I was looking forward to Bone because I know the graphic novel it's based off of, but I can't think of any original Netflix animated like series that I feel like was just like I can't think of anything that they've done that.
Well, and even apparently one they brought up that is successful. They're partnering or they partnered with DreamWorks to bring it to Netflix, so they're paying them for the content. But Boss Baby,
yeah.
And it's like apparently it's successful, but it's not even their original content. Yeah. They're paying DreamWorks for that to distribute it.
And it is funny because I'm not so upset about it because, like I said, there wasn't anything on there I watched. But at the same time, you do think, okay, now that they're cutting departments, that obviously shows that they're losing revenue. They have money bleeding out somewhere, which we already knew because they've been
operating in the red forever.
For years. So now it's like, okay, you're cracking down on password sharing to gain more money that way. You're cutting departments that may not be bringing in the most money, which makes sense business-wise, but it's a kind of a sign that you're struggling, you're failing, because now you're cutting all this content, just like the way they cancel things left and right, and it doesn't instill people faith in people to remain subscribed. Why do I want to stay with a company that is no longer producing quality content and is now getting rid of ways to make content because they can't?
Well, and funny you bring that up because even, not to bring up Elon again, but he even joked and tweeted out this past weekend about how
Elon's my dad.
Elon's my dad. Adopt me. But no, he tweeted out this week about how Netflix, there's just all of this original content is woke garbage. I mean, the fact that you have He's Expecting is one of the newest shows they're promoting, or some journey of a mini series or something about a man. It's not a man getting pregnant; it's a woman getting pregnant who turned themselves, they cut their hair and grew a beard because they took some hormones. It's like it's so ridiculous this notion of pushing this content and somehow that's going to appeal to such a wider audience that it's going to make up the difference of the loss.
Yeah,
and I think that's what the interesting thing here is when you find that at the bottom of the well, when you dig down deep, there's nothing really there, then are you willing to call that bluff and say, oh, crap, we were wrong, this was the wrong direction? Because even they are somewhat changing their tune with regards to saying, oh, we want to make content that's available for all these different audiences we want to make content that's popular.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you mean like what you should have originally been focused on in the first place?
You want to make content that'll make people want to pay you to see it.
Exactly.
And that makes sense. That's good business.
So if you fracture the market to the degree of only honing your... I mean, here's the thing. Nobody's saying that content can't be on there, that Netflix can't somehow bend their moral cap to that, if that's the audience they want. But at the end of the day, it's like, you can't make that the priority of your content because most people don't give a crap about it.
I mean, yes, if a businesses wants to stay in business, they have to cater to a large market, and we know that. I mean, that's why movies like Transformers can break millions of dollars in box office because it caters to, and no one's saying you have to cater to the lowest common denominator. You don't have to be as bad as Michael Bay's Transformers movies. But if you want to make profit, yes, you do try to reach as many people as possible. And when you narrow in on a small percentage of the population, you're not going to get money for that because there's not enough of that group to pay for your content.
Right.
So
and I think
again, like you
this
said,
ass backwards way.
You can't make it a priority.
Right. And you can't sit here and say fundamentally that all of the things that are popular we're then going to shoehorn into these initiatives and push 20-1, in terms of content, this crap versus the one thing over here that people actually want to watch. Because after a while, people are going to start to notice real quick what content is appearing more on the platform, and they are just going to switch over to another platform.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but Netflix, we've talked about it on the show before. They're, I think, in incredible trouble because the stiff competition is real, and we've brought it up before because they have a back catalog of things that people enjoy.
HBO, Disney, heck, even Paramount Plus, which is not very good right now, still has a back catalog that they're slowly adding, and that's going to attract people.
No doubt. And considering that the original content Netflix used to produce was something of note, and it became some of this kind of secret sauce of, they're kind of like an HBO in the sense that you're getting these A-list experiences, but very seldomly and enough to where you could consume it to such a degree that it made it worthwhile, made it worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
However, now it's become so diluted, and again, a mile wide and an inch deep in terms of what you're actually getting, that there's so much Netflix content that you can't consume it all, and you don't really know what's worth your while, or a show that you may invest in that's going to get canceled in a season. Because again, we don't know the data, or we don't know how they share analytics with regard to the shows that are popular versus the ones that aren't.
You don't want to invest in something like the Dark Crystal, and then it's just gone. It's just gone.
I know.
Gone.
Hey, maybe that'll come back if people really want it.
Hey.
Not in this day. and age.
No.
Not if they're bleeding cash like they are right now.
Not with Netflix. I mean, maybe if some other company was interested, but I just. It's good, but it really is like that property is more of a niche thing, and I do understand why that is hard to. You got your Jim Henson diehards that are really going to follow that.
Well, it seems like that's what they've been trying to build.
They do. They try. And I don't think it's wrong because you can attract people that way. But now, as like you said, with all these other companies have their own streaming services, they're kind of losing the IPs they had to be unique, just like with all of their Defenders series going to Disney Plus because that's owned by Disney. So it's like they were originally made as Netflix originals, but Netflix didn't actually own the show. So now it's on Disney Plus. So that is, and it's how do you combat that? It's like, well, you make good content, and the content you're making right now is not that.
And let's talk about the fact that HBO Max is picking up subscribers, and the fact that
3 million plus.
AT&T's kind of pushed off Warner Media, but now that they're combining with Discovery, and you now have this combined effort of launching in more countries. They've talked about being successful in every country that they have. They've already gained subscribers with regard to combining HBO Max plus just regular HBO subscribers. They've talked about gaining in terms of that sphere. They've lost revenue, but partly they blame that on pushing the services in the other countries and to just their fledgling and now completely debacle, just completely obliterated CNN Plus.
Yeah.
just a laughing joke that it's completely trash, and now it's just completely canceled. It won't continue after April, is what they said. So sadly, that was also a debacle they didn't, I guess, forecast for. But ultimately, they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah,
from a fumbled start. I mean, HBO Max was not beloved when it first released.
No, it had a lot of issues, and they're slowly gaining good original content. You have all the back catalogs that we talked about. Now that they are merging with Discovery, I know Discovery has Discovery Plus. Whether that continues or if they roll them into one, well, then you have a situation where it's like you have Warner Brothers that owns DC, Cartoon Network, and then you have Disney over here that has Marvel, their original content, National Geographic. So it's like you do have like kind of two juggernauts that are kind of getting similar brands that can compete with one another, while Netflix is over here trying to scramble to figure out what they're doing because they don't know what they're doing.
No, I agree.
And it is. I mean, I've found myself watching HBO Max more than Netflix. I mentioned in the text when we first shared the article that I find myself watching almost every other streaming service I have more than Netflix, other than Apple, because they don't have anything on there either.
True. And again, we've talked about that.
Yeah.
They're playing the long game.
But yeah, Apple has the ability to do so because streaming isn't their bread and butter. They're able to experiment with that more.
They're willing to let the catalog of noteworthy content build up over time, maybe take some hits and misses, early on, but ultimately they're hoping to build a library that's worth revisiting down the road. And they have billions of dollars to invest in.
They're $5 a month or free if you buy a new Apple product.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's easy to get people invested, whereas Netflix, it's like, if you don't have content, I'm not chucking $20 a month at you. Maybe Apple, yes, because I can give them $5 and watch one or two things I might be interested in, but they're not asking me for $20 for a service that I'm not using often. I don't use Netflix that often.
I'm watching Better Call Saul right now.
Yeah.
And it's only because the latest season, or the last season, is now on there since the new season is the final season's about to start.
Yeah.
But it's like as soon as I'm done with Better Call Saul, I'll probably stop going back to. I mean,
and that's how I am.
Yeah,
like
I
there'll
probably
be
won't
one or
watch
two
it.
seasons every so often that of something that I want to see. So I'll watch Netflix for a few days or a couple of weeks just to watch the season, and then I won't be on it again for a month or two until something else comes out.
Yep.
Stranger Things is coming up soon. I'll watch it then, and then I won't watch it again until the second half comes out
well,
in June.
and I'll be honest too. I mean, yes, we haven't even talked about the elephant in the room, and it's like I do get my Netflix subscription from my parents.
Yeah, I do too.
I share my Disney Plus subscription with everybody in the family.
And that's
My
why I don't
parents
stress
share-
about not using it
right.
that much. But if I had to pay for it,
Like we all share different streaming services, so we all kind of have like our
well,
own
they're going to be
carved
coming
out
after
section.
us, Brandon.
Well, no, I think it's funny because part of the joke is simply that most of these streaming services are on board with password sharing. They encourage it
For family, yeah.
up to the extent that it starts hurting their business model, and then they want to go against it.
Yeah.
The problem is it's not password sharing that is the problem. It's, again, holding on to the subscribers that you already have. We all knew, regardless of the content we've complained about with Netflix, for one, Netflix should have seen the writing on the wall the moment all of these...
Stop spending money you don't have. I
Right.
mean,
That too.
Yeah.
But it's like they should have seen the writing on the wall the moment they knew competition was going to enter the ring, when all of these original streaming services were going to start from the actual distributors of the movies that they had been buying to put on their
Yeah.
service. They had leased out basically to say, we're going to have it for this many months. And all the distributors or all the big publishers finally said, why don't we just make our own?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening. So Netflix is not, they can't be saying, oh, this caught us off guard. No, it hasn't. And you can't blame the subscribers that share their password when you yourself have tweeted it out and encouraged it
Yeah,
in
that
the past.
was hilarious. Yeah. They said love is sharing your password. It's like, okay.
Huh.
That tweet
Huh.
didn't age well, did
No,
it?
it didn't, did it? Because now it's apparently the problem in your only business model is to stifle the very innovation that you have maybe going forward by trying to crack down on the people who are supporting you at the moment. I can tell you right now, my parents have already said if they jack up the price one more time, they're probably 1 or 2 price hikes away from saying, I'm done with Netflix.
Well, okay, anything over $20 is just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, $20 is ridiculous, but to go any higher, it's like, at what point, it's like the reason you went to streaming is to get away from cable. And now Netflix is making up a good third to fourth of people's streaming bills because most other services are $12.
And they don't even offer anything live or nothing.
No.
Some of these other services at least offer that.
Yeah.
I mean, you had NBC. Peacock was at least offering the Olympics live.
They had live. Disney did the Oscars where they messed with that. They've discussed maybe other live streaming. Heck, even Hulu has
Apple
live
TV's
services
trying to
sometimes.
get baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazon had NFL games.
There you
So
go.
yeah.
And I just think that ultimately, if you really start to go in that, if Netflix starts to go in that direction, you're not only going to have, again, the people who cancel the subscription that are sharing the password, but that then cancels you out from anybody who had the password of the said owner of the account. They're not returning. They're
No.
not gonna. They're not gonna do
Well,
it.
that's because they're talking about charging extra for people who not banning you, but they're going to charge you extra if you share your password. So basically, they're charging you, and then everybody who uses your account at a subscription fee. And I think they didn't say it was a full 20, but still, that's basically what you're doing. Is you're going to charge my parents, like me, my sister, anybody
Well, see,
using that.
and here's how they could easily save face if they did something like that. Knock the subscription down to $10.
Yeah.
And say for every person that you share an account with,
$10 or
it's-
$5,
or
Yeah.
$2 or $3.
Yeah.
That would mean like a family of 5 could have literally up to the $20 price tag.
Yeah.
And even max
And
it
you know
out
what?
saying
That'd be
that.
okay, but no, because then they wouldn't be making more
I was
money.
gonna say they'd be in the hole still. Yeah. But
And that's their fault.
But again, how do you don't save face by, again, going after the very base that's giving you. I mean, I also think this is ridiculous because to me, they should have seen the writing on the wall, considering that they have made exponential growth every single year since they've existed.
Yeah.
And since they started streaming, especially. I mean, they were the first
Yeah.
to show it was successful. But you knew that it was going to reach a plateau at some point. You knew it was not going to be infinite growth forever.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but when you balloon to something 200 to 300 million people, they're the largest of all the subscription services. Even HBO Max touches around 60 or 70.
Yeah.
But even still, it's like, but they also don't, they have their eggs in many more baskets and are much more finessed and fine-tuned with regard to what they spend their money on content-wise than just going out there willy-nilly and trying to snatch everything up and thinking that, well, the more the merrier, the more content we have, the more people are going to come to our platform. Not necessarily.
Yep.
I think that's been proven to show up here in this evidence. So Netflix,
Yeah, they're dumb. They're dumb. You know what else is dumb?
you'll continue to lose if you keep hampering your subscriber base.
Yep.
Sorry, but what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, not only is Netflix dumb, but you know what else is dumb?
What?
Sexual harassment.
Yes, it is.
Dumb.
Don't be doing that.
Yeah.
Don't be harassing people.
So there's not a lot of information yet, which is why I'm still a little. And I know people get mad. It's like, oh, you don't believe the victim, but it's we know.
We don't even know who the victim is.
Yeah. There's accusations against both Bill Murray and for different movies, not same set. Bill Murray and Frank Langella, and knowing their personalities and the type of people they've been their entire careers, and what I don't think they've said anything about what Bill Murray did.
No, his has been completely in
yeah.
the dark.
But I know
even,
Bill
even
Murray's
Frank Langella's
antics on set, and it's like, okay, I could see him maybe making a joke that someone was offended by, and I'm not defending him or accusing them because I don't know the story. But yeah, Frank Langella's sounded like something my grandfather would do, and I'm not saying it's okay, but at the same time, it's
well, and even his is not. Apparently, it's been clarified that Frank Langella. I'm going to try to look through the article here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Langella was the subject of an investigation. I'm reading this
he
from
had
Deadline.
placed his hand on her knee and made a joke.
Oh, they did. Okay, so
Yeah,
they see in this article they just talk about how he was pulled from the fall of the House of Usher, which was was that Netflix? Yeah, Netflix's
Yeah, it's
8-episode
Netflix.
limited series. He was pulled from that, but they didn't really explain. They just explained that the clarity of the details, or not the details involved, but that he had been
He made inappropriate comments.
that it was
Let me
actually.
find. I don't want to misquote. Let me see if
They
I
said
found
it was
the
confirmed
article.
that he had done what he was accused of.
Yeah,
But even then, I'm like, I didn't know what the accusations were, because I'm like, well, what was he accused of, and what was it clarified that he did do?
From my understanding,
What was it confirmed?
And again, I don't want to spread false rumors. That's why I'm trying to find an article. I thought they had said, or he had said, he had placed the hand like on her knee and made a joke that was sexual in nature. And I'm like, yeah, that's wrong, but what kind of the conversation, because I'm not saying he should have done that, but I can also see, like, from his mindset, being older, him thinking, you know, I'm obviously incapable of doing anything. This is just a funny joke. And I'm not, again, defending him, but I'm saying
You are, but that's okay.
I am, but in a way, it's saying, like,
Here's the thing.
in what sense is it too far? Like, yes, do you say, hey,
Right.
Frank, that made her uncomfortable. We can't have you do that again.
Exactly.
Because I have a feeling if they had gone that route, he would have been like, oh, I'm sorry. I completely understand. Because I know that's how my grandfather would have reacted. He would have realized, oh, I wasn't trying to offend anybody. I thought I was being funny.
Right.
And at what point
Like,
do
that's
you
what- that's-
crucify somebody for making an honest mistake? And yes, I know people are like, well, he shouldn't have touched her. It's like, yeah, but it's not like he was forcing himself upon her or putting himself, like, yeah, it's not like he went higher than the knee. I mean, it is the knee.
He didn't
and
grope her.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, but you look, I think it's absolutely ridiculous because, well, again, this goes back to that double standard. You can look no further than the freaking Oscars telecast. And what's her name? Regina, was it Regina?
Oh, yeah, she was
King-
groping all over
I
them.
forget
Way
her name. I
worse
always
than,
screw it up.
yeah.
Not Regina Hall. Regina King?
King.
Is King. Or is
Was
it
it
Regina King
I think
Hall?
Regina Hall. No, I think
I don't
Regina
know.
Hall
I
was
was
the
gonna-
host, but I've forgotten now.
I can't remember. Regina's somebody.
One of the Reginas.
She's irrelevant. Nobody cares about her. Nobody knows who she is.
One of the Reginas.
Yeah.
We're bad.
But it's like, no, so she's up there patting down Josh Brolin and making jokes about, oh, yeah, we have to check this out and be thorough. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, again, and here's the thing, it was completely harmless. And I don't want to be one of those people that raises eyebrows of like, oh, I would be offended and I would get upset. No, because I'm not that kind of person. But then it's got to be squarely even on both sides. And it's absolutely absurd that nobody would lose their marbles over something like that. But then when something like this comes to light, and again, the details aren't even there. I don't know how bad the circumstance is. Maybe it was something, terrible.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It said TMZ reported earlier this week that the Netflix was investigating misconduct accusation against Langella. He made an inappropriate sexual joke, and in the context of his performance, possibly during rehearsal, he touched the leg of a female co-star. So possibly. and further drew attention to the action when he jokingly said something like, "Did you like that?" And like again, that's something that's like, is it inappropriate? Yes. Is it something that they could say, "Hey,
world we're
Frank,
living
yeah."
in, man.
He touched her leg and said, "Did you like that?" If that made her uncomfortable, then that's when you say, "Hey, that's inappropriate. Made her uncomfortable." Basically, what would amount to a write-up, I guess, be like, "Hey, any more content like that, you're fired." But you have to know.
I think what pisses me off is, again, it's just this asinine behavior. Look, yeah, he's not trying to stick his hand down your shirt. And at the end of the day, it's not like all you have to do is say, look, that made me feel uncomfortable. If it did, I know most people who would probably brush that off as some elderly old man, maybe just, saying a joke here or there, and that's what gives him his jollies.
I mean, he's 84 years old.
But come on. It's so ridiculous. The world we live in nowadays, it's like people get offended by the littlest crap and make a big deal out of it. And, and this is what pisses me off, too, because this is where it really needs to stop. Most people who were on that set were probably sitting there.
Laughed when it happened.
Not even laughed. They may not have known anything happened. But I guarantee you, the moment the story broke, the person probably spoke up and said something about it to someone, and everybody on that set probably thought, man, there she goes again, causing problems, saying crap because we all know those people. We all know the people that are going to raise the friggin' alarm about something so minuscule and so stupid. It's like that one person that ruins the whole trip for everybody when you go somewhere, and they have to be the loud and obnoxious one that just makes you think, why in the hell did we even invite you, or why are you here? You're just making this noise for no purpose other than to get attention. And I can't stand it because, look, I don't know the woman involved, and I can't say that for sure. Maybe it really did make her feel uncomfortable. But ultimately, who knows? Maybe she went to bat for the guy and said, no, this is blowing it out of proportion. But that's what needs to happen. Anybody who wants to raise an alarm in this regard, they should be sitting there saying, look, this was wrong. It was inappropriate. I didn't feel comfortable. But heaven forbid you actually stand up and have the decency to say, I understand he didn't mean anything by it. As long as he apologizes and said, I'm sorry, I won't do that again, then come on, give people a break. Why do you have to freaking walk around acting like you got a chip on your shoulder and every damn thing's going to set you off? It's so absurd. It's ridiculous.
Because he's an 84-year-old white man and he's bad.
No, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I'm sorry, Morgan Freeman would have done this, nothing would have been said. Because he's a black man and he's older. And I'm sorry, but that is the absolute truth. And don't give me this bull crap of, I'm pointing fingers at just making a racist cause, because the fact of the matter is, we all know it. Old white men, the patriarchy, have been attacked over the last several years since Trump got elected, and it's become a prime focus. So it's a bunch of BS that this isn't the case. And now you got Bill Murray.
And we don't know anything
and we have
about
nothing.
that one.
We have nothing on that other than allegations. But people are still. He's now being. He was being asked off the film that he's being a part of, and I forget what the movie is.
His was.
Look up. It's called. I didn't even look up.
Being Mortal.
Being Mortal. It's based on a novel, but production was about 3 weeks from wrapping up. It's Aziz and Ansari's directorial debut, and about 3 weeks away from wrapping on production, they had to cancel production and say, due to these, details that have come to our attention, we have to stop production, and we're sorry for all the hard work. Hopefully, once all of these, this investigation ends, maybe we can hopefully continue the film. Again, it's. I think when it's all said and done, Hollywood's digging its own grave, because they're constantly going forward with these messages that are just blank slates, literally blank checks in terms of you're endlessly trying to cash in on the goods of holding these people morally accountable, but when you don't really have any moral handbook of your own that you abide by. And so it's absolute hypocrisy, and it's ridiculous, because nobody in Hollywood gives a damn about someone else's, rights or about morality as a whole. All they give a damn about is raising a stink to get their freaking foot in the spotlight. And the moment that they can raise a stink about it to get their moment in the spotlight to propel their career forward. They're a bunch of hacks, and it continues to showcase in these instances. And so, look, and they had a quote at the end of the article with Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, I've heard he's a jerk.
Yeah.
And I've heard of him. I've heard him in interviews, and he is a jerk. Everybody in Hollywood, a lot of them are jerks.
Yeah.
So don't sit here and give me one instance of Richard Dreyfuss talking up an instance with Bill Murray. Yeah, I believe
several years ago. It was on the set of What About Bob?
It's a great movie.
It is a great movie. It is a great movie.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I went off on a tirade.
Oh, no, you're fine.
It just gets me frustrated. Just the hypocrisy and the idiocy of Hollywood never ceases to amaze me. It's why it's just continuing to go downhill. And I think
downhill.
You're going to continue to see
downhill.
Just other outlets.
I mean, Spider-Man can't even make jokes anymore.
There you go. Perfect segue.
Yeah. There's not much to say here other than the stupidity that for television airing, it was the line
in
about
Britain. It was in Britain.
In Britain, but it was his line when he's fighting Bonesaw, which is
Bonesaw is ready. 3 minutes for playtime. 3 minutes. I got you for 3 minutes.
Yes. But he tells him, you know, that's a cute outfit. Did your wife or did your husband make it for you? Sorry, I'm editing it now. Oh no!
How dare you.
But he says, did your husband make it for you? And that is clearly homophobic and terrible. So that line was edited out on broadcast television.
So ridiculous.
And it is just gets to a point where at what point do we just no longer watch anything made prior to a certain year because everything's just so
is it chopped
offensive.
up and cut up because it's so offensive?
Oh God, yeah, that would be what would happen, and it'd just be awful. It's like just leave things alone. I mean, if people are too dumb to realize that something was made as a product of its time, and maybe we shouldn't judge it based on Granted, I'm not saying that some things are right. Yeah, obviously, if there's racial caricatures in a film, or
it's absolutely again. The idea that it's a homophobic slur is absolutely absurd. We adopt these slogans that are, I mean, even the way the article, and you can go read it for yourself. We linked it to the description. It's from Screen Rant. I do want to name drop the guy who wrote the article because it's absurd. Because the guy who wrote it, Brennan Klein.
How you know it's a guy? You're just assuming his gender.
I am assuming. Damn right I'm assuming.
You're assuming
Brennan
his gender.
Klein just lays into, the way it's
the whole
written,
article is
the article
very
is
pointed.
written
Yeah.
from the perspective that Spider-Man's in the wrong, that this was a good thing. And in the way, the one...
Here, I want to just...
Yeah, go ahead and read the line.
This line is very typical of the casual homophobia that was common in the media of the early...
Oh, gosh.
It was just it was running rampant,
so
man.
freaking loaded.
But it's certainly one of Spider-Man moments that have aged the poorest.
No, it hasn't. Nobody raised any damn questions about it but you who are obsessed with it.
Hey, in
That's it.
early 2000s media, homophobia was rampant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know how rampant it was. But that's... Okay, and that's my problem. Homophobia. It's like homophobia is strictly I'm afraid of gay people. There's nothing homophobic about it. There's nothing. He's not afraid of gay people. He's simply mocking and making a joke about him being gay. Now that's fine if you want to call that incendiary or you want to ridicule it for that. That's fine. So be it. But it's not homophobic. There's nothing homophobic about it. He's not wanting to not go near him because he's scared of gay people. I just hate how this language gets thrown around all the time, and there's never asked for any clarification on what you mean, because again, we already know what your intention is. And that's why I wanted to point out this idiot and the article he wrote, is because it's like really what you're doing is simply interjecting your own opinion as fact, as presented by this was the correct thing to do because we know
this was
based
the
on
morally right thing to do.
Yes, and it's just so preposterous, and it's like you talk about elitist. That is the epitome of elitism.
It's okay. I got my Spider-Man Blu-rays, and they still say the line in them.
And that is more, I think, the scary nature of it.
That's
because
what terrifies me.
I mean, if you do not own the physical copy, I can't even trust if I buy and own the digital copy that it won't be somewhat altered.
And that's why people turn to pirating, because you can get original content of things that are no longer available through purchase, no longer available. And again, I'm not promoting or advocating pirating, but piracy went down a lot when streaming services came out because people had a cheaper, instant alternative to accessing their content. I don't buy Blu-rays very much anymore because I have all the streaming services and everything's on them.
Yep.
I don't have to buy physical copies. But now it's getting to a point where I am afraid of like so much editing. It's like, well, damn, if I want to watch the original version, I need to make sure I go buy it somewhere or else turn to alternative means. Because that's what other people are doing, and piracy has gone back up. Why? Because you can't get the access to the things that you love because everybody wants to change them or else ban them. And that's what you're facing is these streaming services that are basically like Netflix putting themselves out of business.
No doubt. I agree. I mean, again,
and granted, this was, again, a broadcast station, but same thing. I mean...
Well, a broadcast station in Britain.
It wasn't here in America.
And I love how he... At the end of the article, he brings up, like, sometimes things are trimmed just to cut down on time.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, I love how he's then kind of, in a back-asswards way, explaining like how this the intention may not be so pure, and if that's the case, well, they should check themselves. And I'm like, look, nobody's editing a movie.
10 seconds of dialogue.
It's not even 10 seconds. It's
not
a
even
second
to take it out
to trim down on a movie. That's not the excuse you can use here.
No,
it's very deliberate, and that's what I think is the most absurd is that you have to literally go through the trouble. But there's people who love to do this. This is what they are built for. Because, again, their mentality is this is the morally correct and right thing to do.
Yeah.
And the morally correct, right thing to do is to just make more content that refutes that. So I welcome it. It's absurd. Go watch the original Spider-Man.
All right. Well, we have a relationship segment to get into.
We do. I guess we should roll that open now, shouldn't we?
Let me tell you about the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and the moon up above and a thing called love.
Oh, you have nothing love related over there.
I don't.
I mean, the best you got is
show me the money.
You know,
that's beautiful. That's love. That's love right there. I mean, what's wrong with that? Ain't nothing wrong with that.
The money, the line, or Cuba Gooding Jr.
Oh, you're about to hear a sound. I had to drop.
Oh my goodness!
I had to put the lower third.
Oh my goodness!
I totally forgot to put the lower third.
Amateur hour over here.
What can I help? I can't help it.
Oh, that's great.
I'm gonna blame that one on Apple too. Prioritizing family time. Let's talk.
That's
about
what happened. You were prioritizing family time. And,
I just had too much going on this week.
And it happens. It happens. Sometimes you have to prioritize family time. And I mean, I really do mean that because there's been many times, I know for all of us, Sean's currently with his family. It's his wife's birthday. I know you spent time with your family recently. Me too. There's been so many times, especially this week alone for, I think, all of us, especially you.
Well,
where you kind of, you have so much planned and so much going on where your family gets thrown to the back burner, and that's not intentional. And then when you realize it's like you've not spent any time with them, you have to be like, hey guys, look, I know I have this planned, or we might have been doing this, but I really got to, I like, and it's not like a pity thing. Like, it's like, oh, I'm going to go throw my family a bone. It was an honest, like, I would rather spend time with my, like, Saturday, like, going to Thunder with my family. I stopped by my parents very briefly yesterday, but then I went over there today before the podcast and spent much more time with them. And that wasn't I feel bad because I haven't spent time with them. That was I really want to see my family, and I'd much rather do that. So I'm going to prioritize this so I can do that and worry about the other things that don't matter as much when I can't.
Well, and it's funny because I know we've talked about before on the show about, like, sometimes I'm like not the best texter, and especially like when it comes to family. I feel like I've gotten better at it because we have like a fam group.
You've gotten
now.
better with us, so
yeah. And
you are better in groups than individual texting.
I don't know why, but I feel like it's just because the conversation's a little bit more broad, and like when you get into nuanced text, it almost kind of does become this. Why don't you just pick up the phone and call? Even though in the instance you may not be able to. But
some
then
people don't like that. My sister hates being called, so it's like and sometimes it annoys me because I'd much rather be like, this will be much faster if I just pick.
Yes, because there's times where, especially, and I know how we all are. It's like we'll send articles and stuff throughout the day, but we'll have our own opinions. And yet sometimes
you want to type out a paragraph,
right?
You're trying to like explain.
It's sometimes it's easier to just say it out loud. And if I do type out like an opinion, then I'm halfway through, and then I'm like, well, now I got to go full bore. I got to explain it all because if I don't get my point 1, 2, and 3 in there, then they may think I'm not thinking of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I've gotten better about texting my family and just creating like a mass group text to where we all join in a convo or share, I think, life events or life updates.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, of course, I think, Sean even talked about possibly being on tonight and trying to.
Yeah, he was going to try to call in.
Yeah. He was wanting to partake in the review.
Which we
discussion.
appreciate, but I mean, he texted us earlier, said that, he was going to be spending the full time with his wife, and that's absolutely, like, that's understandable. Like,
Yeah.
we can't be mad about that.
Well, it's like there's no secret that
well, I mean,
I
you
don't.
can, but then you're just kind of.
Well, I would say there's no secret that I don't pay you all on the show. So the fact that you all do come every single
Brandon's
week,
secretly
it's
angry.
kind of a miracle.
He's going to beat Sean next week.
That shirt is going to remain there. That moon is blood red for a reason.
Whoa! No. But yeah, I mean, definitely, like you said, I don't get paid for this. So, I'm just...
He's just going to
I'm
walk
just
out right
done,
now.
right?
He's gone. I was going to show the watch. I was like, he's getting up. He's leaving.
I would have, but I didn't want to have to walk back in.
You really would have left.
Yeah, I would just would be like, man,
But it's
well,
not worth it.
It's
I'm done. No, but I appreciate the time you all give to this show. But we've talked about it on instances outside the show about how, I mean, when you dedicate even just one night every single week to doing this, that's a guaranteed time that I'm going to see you all.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've seen you all more in a week than I've seen of my own family.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we dedicate every Tuesday night to this. So that is, in the grand scheme of things, like most of the times that's fine because not a lot of things are happening on Tuesdays. But on the off chance that your family's like, hey, this event's going on Tuesday night. And granted, like you said, if it's a family issue, it's not like you would be like, oh, no, you can't do that. But there are times when it's like, yeah, it might not be the most convenient to have to do that. But I do love coming in here and doing it every week. Otherwise, I wouldn't. But yeah, absolutely. You do have to, and we're mainly talking in relation to the show. But I mean, outside of even the show, I mean, because I've been busy with like doctor's appointments, like my dental appointments, veterinarian appointments, just all the events going on and spending time
just
with other
running
people.
errands.
So even outside of the show, life gets busy, and you still have to.
Well, heck,
know
we haven't
dedicate
had a
time.
few of our other guests on, Jacob and Aaron. They
I mean,
haven't stopped
they
by in a
all
while.
They all have families now. So dealing with their children, their spouses, their life that they have going on. So yeah, absolutely. You do have to make sure you dedicate time to your family because life does get so busy. And outside of that, yeah, sometimes because you're dedicating the things that are most important to you, you don't see other people as often. And that doesn't mean you're not friends with them or no longer close. I mean, we haven't seen all of them, but I mean, Aaron messaged us not that long ago. And like she had just seen us yesterday. Nathan's the same way.
Yeah.
We can message Nathan or he can message us. Jacob and Melissa stay in constant contact. Neil, who lives in Boston, is always in touch. So it's like, even if you don't see someone every day, that doesn't mean they're not a part of your life or not important to your life. And it is about trying to dedicate that time to the people who are important to you. And you do have to make sure that starts with, I think, your family, because that is the core of the people who have your back when you need it most.
No doubt. And I can attest to the fact that I've been intentional about making, I mean, especially since my schedule has been all hectic and crazy, not just within the last couple of weeks, but even the last year. And it becomes a lot harder to carve out that time for your family so that you actually make the again, you make the time to say, all right, no, I've got to make this a priority. Otherwise it's not going to happen. And then, which my mom wouldn't let me anyway. she'll call me up or text me anyway and be like, am I going to have to come over there and see you? Mm-hmm. So, but even this week, I was worn out, tired. Yeah, I worked 60 hours last week. It was a crazy, hectic week. And then Sunday, I was like, I had to finish up the week by tearing down everything we had set up the week prior. And Sunday started off, and I was like, I've got to get my yard work done. It's like the only day I can do it. I got to cut the grass. It's supposed to rain on Monday, which was my only off day this week. And I was like, I got to get it done before it rains. So it's like, it was just a crap way that things landed.
Yeah.
And here I am working Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, and I get a text from my mom, and my mom's like, your lawn is mowed and your yard or your it's weed eated. Like everything's fine for when you come home. Just text us and we'll have dinner. And I was like, that was a huge saving like
Yeah,
blessing
absolutely.
that
Absolutely.
I just completely was not expecting, and just an amazing, gift that I just didn't see coming. And and it's not like, oh, if I wouldn't have helped out my family one time, they wouldn't do that. But yeah, it goes to show you how tight knit and how close your family is, and that's why you make the time for it. And when little instances pop up, that I think it becomes more precious as you get older, because as your life gets busier, especially with your own family. And I think Sean could attest to this the most, since he has a wife and kids. It's like you have to almost take advantage of the moments that you would have passed up a long time ago, because you realize how sparingly they come along anymore.
Yeah.
And if you don't take advantage of it, you don't know when that instance is going to happen again. And so I think it's very interesting and absolutely a necessity to make those things a priority. Otherwise, I think you kind of become lonely. And
bitter.
And life's not fun to live alone and bitter. You don't want to do that.
Like most of Hollywood.
They just need family, and not one with Jada Pinkett Smith in it. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to be our relationship topic.
I think that's the end.
Do you make your family a priority? You should. What if you have? Maybe we should do a topic on what if you have a divide in your family?
Oh
Or
no!
You've butted heads, or maybe like a family divorce. No, I don't mean literal. I mean, it could be a literal divorce.
A house divided.
Yeah, but a house divided.
No,
What if you have family conflict where
Maybe
you haven't
that'll be the
talked
next
to
one.
a spouse or a sibling or a a
grudges
parent
held against family.
Yeah,
Terrible.
we should maybe do that one on a
We
relationship.
should do that one.
if we remember it.
We'll do it.
That's always our problem. We always forget these.
We've said it on air, so somebody please message us, email us, and let us remind us. Be like, hey,
Please
guys.
remind us. Send us a reminder, because you are our Red Moon family.
Oh,
Was that cheesy?
You are so beautiful to Red Moon.
Indeed, you all are. We appreciate every single one of y'all. Thank you all so much. Like you can see at the bottom of your screen, like, share, subscribe.
Bottom.
Red Moon Book, Red Moon Tweet, Red Moon Pics, and just search for Red Moon Productions on YouTube. Hit that bell icon to get all our notifications, all our recent updates. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Of course, we'll be live again next week.
Yeah.
We already talked about it a little bit with what we're going to be reviewing.
Massive weight of unbearable talent.
You totally butchered it.
Is that not it?
That's sort of it, but not quite. It's the unbearable weight
The
of massive
unbearable weight
talent.
of massive.
Yeah.
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 I said-
That was close. You were close.
I ruined it.
But
I'm
that's
a
what
failure.
we're reviewing. Probably going to catch everybody up on the Rust incident with the murderous Alec Baldwin.
We're gonna review a movie. We're gonna talk about things, and that's how the show goes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we do every week.
Yeah.
So tune in next Tuesday on the Red Moon Podcast. Of course, our third chair will be, of course, filled again by
He'll be
Mr.
back.
Sean Sebastian.
The commanders will command him to live again.
They always
Yeah,
do.
they,
They always are there
Yeah.
for us.
They had to abandon us for a while, but now that the Indians are gone and they're commanders, they're gonna command him.
Gosh.
Command.
Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our not our normal new host. He's gone. Our other host.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.